I don't know if you knew this, but it is 2021. And because it is 2021, I think we've all been thinking about SeaLab 2021. And I have thought about doing a review of the show. I don't know when that will happen. Before that happens, I wanted to do a review of the pilot, or the kind of proof of concept pilot that was made by Adam Reed and Matt Thompson. Now, this pilot, which was made in 1999, this was not made with the cast that we know and love that would be on the actual SeaLab 2021. This was made just from Adam Reed and Matt Thompson doing all the voices. So it is very different. I'm not talking about the pirate radio episode of SeaLab 2021. I'm talking about a pilot, so if there's any confusion, I'm not talking about that one, but I am talking about this first one. Now, what happened basically and how this came to be, it seems like Adam Reed and Matt Thompson worked at Cartoon Network. In 1995, they actually came up with the idea then and pitched it to Cartoon Network, and they said, no, that doesn't sound funny, and we're not interested. They were fired in like 96. When they got fired, supposedly they stole analog masters of SeaLab 2020. 5 years after that, or around 99, that timeline doesn't make sense, they made this pitch pilot, and because they were like, well, let's make this like kind of cool pitch pilot thing that we always wanted to make out of this idea we'd always had, and they made it and submitted it to Cartoon Network, which I keep reading in Wikipedia and other things, they say coincidentally they pitched it again when Adult Swim was starting to happen. I get the impression, and it's never in air quotes, that is sort of a joke. Like maybe someone who knew, they're like, oh hey, Cartoon Network's making this thing called Adult Swim, you should try to pitch that stupid SeaLab thing that we all didn't like before or something. I kind of feel like there's something else going on, but I couldn't find anything about that. The pilot was apparently made, it was unsolicited, so it was just a proof of concept pilot, and they did use the old original masters of SeaLab 2020 to make this, and they edited it kind of on old machines and stuff like that. They didn't spend much money on it, like $12. Most of the old Adult Swim stuff is extremely low budget, just people sort of know what they're doing with animation. It's kind of interesting because it is their voices in it. I kind of wonder, the vibe is different. You kind of get Murphy, but you realize how much the actors really led themselves to those parts, because with just the writing and them fucking around, and part of me wonders if they just thought this would be like an internet thing or an online thing that they were fucking around with, like this wasn't really going to make it to air, because they keep showing parts where there were supposed to be like porn behind them, like they have a text behind it that says Korean porn, and they cut away from something and go, oh, porn was going to be shown here, and I was like, so they sent this to executives, which they openly admit during the thing that they did that. And I was just like, anyway, I don't know what was this supposed to go to Spike and Mike's Sick and Twisted Animation Festival or something? Like I don't understand what they're doing there with that. Suppose the plot of this was basically they were going to rescue people who are on Ice Station Zebra, which is a movie, it's a reference, haha, and they sort of just don't do it. They kind of just do, kind of dumb things around SeaLab and stuff like that. Sort of a typical SeaLab episode, just not as funny or extreme. And they do the thing in the credits where they show extra kind of scenes and outtakes and stuff like that. They did have, instead of saving the people, they actually go like swim around the ocean and race on turtles. So it's kind of a fun pilot. It shows you kind of how wacky and freeform Adult Swim and kind of Cartoon Network used to be, that they could really have a pilot with actual porn in it and submit it and get a show is ridiculous. And that I didn't know Adam Reed also created Archer. I just didn't know that. I haven't really watched much Archer, but I was like, oh, there's a SeaLab Archer connection. That sort of makes sense to me. I didn't know that, but I also didn't know like this is an idea they held on to for so long and then actually got to happen. And then they got an amazing voice cast. I think they got really lucky with that. But they had this like kind of core strange idea, and they sort of knew they could do something fun with it. And you can see the possibility of an idea. Like when I was watching this, I was like, if this was a pitch thing, I'd be like, I don't know, I can see a whole show in this, much like Long Gone Gulch. I like this pitch pilot, but I watched the first episode after this because it's been a while since I've seen SeaLab. And while I was watching it, I did think like, yeah, it's not really that funny, the pilot. I think what really worked is having those personalities and hearing their voices and everything like that. And it shows me how much, it's good writing, it's good jokes, it's funny. I like hearing someone's a mailbox head and stuff like that. But it's really the personalities that made that show. That's why when that guy died, that show kind of went downhill. Like you need those personalities to make the show what it is. And I think much like the last season of SeaLab, the pitch pilot thing kind of sort of doesn't work as well, but it kind of just shows you the possibility of what we'd see going forward, and really how bizarre of an idea this whole thing was, because it seems extra weirder and extra strange when you watch it through this version of, you know, this pitch pilot thing. And even they admit it's kind of crappy, and they're embarrassed to put this out on a DVD, which I guess, you know, maybe they should have been. But it's kind of cool that they, you know, actually got this to happen and got to happen in such a form that it would. But it's kind of weird to see it from its like weird, twisted guys messing around with the pilot form before it, you know, became the awesome show that we'd like SeaLab later on. Like, sit around Saber Chat says, yes, Jim, we've all been thinking about SeaLab 2021.